At 4:14 a.m., a heavy Russian supply train was running through the dark at 60 kilometers an hour. 15 kilometers from a railway bridge it had to cross, loaded with fuel and covered military cargo. 86 kilometers behind the front, its crew was certain the war could not reach them this far into the rear. They were wrong on 2 counts. 14 Ukrainian strike drones were already in the air over the corridor, and 2 Russian targets had been marked to die before first light: the bridge ahead and the train itself. One would be dropped into the river it crossed, the other would be hunted down in the dark and left burning on the track. None of it looked like much yet. Above the rails in a tree line, the Ukrainian spotter who had timed the whole thing lay watching the train come. He carried a thermal binocular, a rangefinder, and a radio, and beside him lay a marksman with a UAR-10 rifle, whose only job was to keep them both alive if they were found. Neither would fire a shot all night. Their work was to watch the train, time it, count its cars, and then say one word into the radio that would spring a trap already built around the whole corridor. A box closed on the bridge and the train alike, and the bridge was only one of its walls. The weapon was the UJ-26 Beaver, a Ukrainian long-range strike drone with the wingspan of a small light plane, built to fly hundreds of kilometers on a stored course and put a 20-kilogram warhead through a target at the end of it. It is cheap as strike weapons go, a little over $100,000 each. The 14 in the air that night were split 3 ways, and no 2 groups were sent at the same thing. The first 4 flew as bait. They came in from 2 different bearings, low and slow, and their only mission was to be seen, to make the Russian air defense around the corridor wake up, turn on, and show where it was. It worked. A Kasta-2 low-altitude radar, a Russian surveillance set built to find things flying close to the ground, caught the first contacts and began feeding an air picture to the batteries nearby. On paper, the Kasta reaches 150 kilometers. Against a drone the size of the Beaver, hugging the terrain, that range collapsed to roughly 35. And even inside 35, the contacts flickered in and out as ground clutter broke the track. The Kasta could see that something was coming. It could not tell the crews cleanly how many, or along which line, and a warning that cannot become a firing solution is just noise with a direction. The kinetic answer to that warning was a Tor M2, a tracked short-range missile system that hunts exactly this kind of target. Its radar found the first wave at the edge of 15 kilometers, and its crew did what the arithmetic told them to do. The Tor can engage 4 targets at once. The first wave was 4 drones. 4 against 4 is a fight a Tor wins, and it did. It killed 2 of the bait drones outright. A Pantsir S-1 nearby, a gun and missile system that guards the short-range gap the Tor leaves behind, took a 3rd. The 4th lost its satellite navigation inside a curtain of jamming and drifted off course, coming down in a field near some trackside equipment with a dull thud and no real damage.
And that was the trap closing, not the defense winning. 3 drones dead, 1 wandered off, and every Russian crew in the corridor now believed it was beating the raid. Their radars were pointed at the bearing the first wave had come from, an axis that had already done its job. The bait had cost Ukraine 4 drones and bought exactly what it was meant to, a defense looking the wrong way. Because the jamming that had knocked down the 4th drone was Russian, a Pol-21 electronic warfare network, a web of jammers bolted to towers and masts across the area, was flooding the corridor with noise on the satellite navigation bands. It was built to blind the drones, and it did degrade them. It had already sent 1 into a field. But a Beaver does not fall out of the sky when its satellite fix dies. It keeps flying on internal navigation, a spinning mass system that holds a heading with no signal from space at all, and its operators can still steer it in the final seconds through a separate link. The Pol-21 could make the drones less accurate, It could not make them stop. That distinction was about to matter more than the Russians knew. 150 seconds after the first wave, the second wave arrived. 6 beavers this time, and every one of them was for the bridge. The bridge was the reason the corridor mattered. It carried 2 railway lines across a river, a single structural throat through which Russian fuel, ammunition, and men moved between 2 occupied regions. A 20-kilogram warhead is not a bridge demolition charge. 1 beaver cannot drop a span, but 6 of them, arriving together and concentrating their hits on the rails, the deck edges, and the joints where the structure carries its load, are a different problem. The Pantsir and the Tor tried to service them and ran straight into the arithmetic that had been working against them all night. 4 engagement channels each, but each channel has to lock, fire, and confirm before it takes the next, and the 6 arrive together, seconds apart, spread across the span, with the residue of the first wave still cluttering the screens. There was never time to work through all 6. They knocked down 2, 4 got through, and one of those 4 had been caught by the Pole 21 on the way in. Its satellite fix gone and its video frozen. Yet it flew the last stretch on internal navigation and came down on the span anyway. Less precisely, just as hard. 4 warheads landing along the same span in seconds were enough. One line took a hit directly over a support and dropped, rails and decking together, into the river gap. The second, a few meters away, was not severed but bent out of shape, the track twisted, the bed torn, a span still standing and good for nothing. Where the crossing had been, a tower of fire and smoke climbed off the river into the dark.
15 kilometers up the line, the driver of the supply train saw it, a glow low on the horizon where the bridge should have stood, growing as the train ran on toward it into a wall of fire and smoke where the line was meant to cross the river. He threw the train into emergency braking. It did not stop, not quickly. A loaded freight train at 60 kilometers an hour does not stop when the driver decides it should. It stops when its own weight finally runs out of momentum, and that takes distance. 15 seconds passed before the full braking effort even took hold. And in those 15 seconds, the train rolled another 250 meters closer to the fire. Then, the long deceleration began. Steel on steel, more than a kilometer of it. This was the other half of what the bridge had been for. Drop a crossing in front of a train this heavy, and it cannot stop in time, and it cannot turn. It can only grind to a halt in the open and sit there. It stopped in open country, more than 4 kilometers short of the burning bridge, dead still, unable to move. And still it was not finished, because the train sat 4 kilometers from the burning bridge, intact, waiting, and the last wave had not come yet. This was the part that made it a trap and not just a bridge strike. 4 beavers had never gone near the corridor. They had flown a longer, looping route and were holding roughly 18 kilometers out, waiting for one thing: the spotter's word that the train had stopped. A moving train under braking is a hard, uncertain aim point. A stopped one is a map. Holding them back was a gamble. 4 drones circling 18 kilometers out, burning the fuel and time they would need at the end, betting that the wrecked bridge would strand the train somewhere they could still reach it. If it had ground to a halt short and simply backed away down the line behind it, the reserve would have been 4 drones with no target and no range left to find another.
At 4:24, the train finished stopping. The spotter read it through the thermal scope, 1 car at a time. The stopped train was a line of cooling shapes, except for one. A tank of liquid fuel sheds heat slower than an empty boxcar, and a tanker near the middle of the consist sat in the glass as a long, even glow, while the cars around it went dark. Behind it rode a covered wagon, low on its springs, heavy with whatever a fuel and ammunition run carries. heavy and close to the fuel was all he needed to know. He passed the word, and the fourth wave turned in. For 6 minutes and change, nothing chased them. The corridor's defenses were 4 kilometers away, facing a bridge that was already gone, and a Tor or a Pantsir does not fight on the move. To engage, it has to stop, level itself, bring its radar up, and acquire. Minutes, not seconds. The batteries that had spent the raid pointed at the bridge now had to displace 4 kilometers cross-country to the stopped train and set up again from scratch. And the drones on the final run were faster than any of that. One Pantsir tore free in time. Nothing else did. The Beavers crossed the last 18 kilometers at 160 kilometers an hour, and the only thing waiting for them at the train was that one repositioned Pantsir and a handful of guards with rifles.
The Pantsir got one. It picked up the incoming drones, took its shot, and knocked the first of the 4 down short of the train. Then his own success worked against it. The train had stopped, its crew had dismounted, and now there were men on the ground and a fuel-laden consist directly behind the drones the Pantsir wanted to shoot. And the drones were coming in low, under 20 meters off the ground, so the only shot the Pantsir's 30mm cannon had was flat and level, straight through its own side's men on the ground and into the fuel behind them. The safe firing lanes narrowed to almost nothing. One guard with an AK-12 caught a drone in his sights inside the last 400 meters and put rounds into the air toward it. But 400 meters is about 9 seconds at the speed the Beaver was flying, and 9 seconds is not enough time for a man with a rifle to solve a moving target in the dark. He may have hit it. It did not matter. It kept coming. 3 drones now, 3 targets, no more missiles that could safely fly. At 4:31, the first went into the locomotive. The warhead punched through the cab and into the drive beneath it, and in that instant, the engine simply stopped being an engine. The thing that had pulled the train into the box would never pull anything again. The second went into the fuel tanker. A breached tank of fuel does not burn slowly. The warhead opened it, the fuel found air and ignition in the same instant, and the tanker went up in a single rising column of fire that lit the whole stopped train from end to end and threw black smoke flat across the track. For kilometers around, it was suddenly the brightest thing in the dark, and for the last drone still flying, it stopped being a fire and became a beacon. The third Beaver did not need a targeting solution anymore. It steered for the light. It went into the covered wagon, riding heavy behind the tanker, the one the spotter had marked. And whatever that wagon had been carrying answered with a second, deeper crackle of its own, a string of small detonations walking through the consist long after the drone that started them was gone. 3 drones had reached the train, a locomotive dead on the rails, a tanker burning, a military wagon torn open in the dark. 4 kilometers from a bridge that, by first light, was gone. A key logistics artery between 2 occupied regions was cut in a single night, and the occupiers faced the repair they would have to start from nothing. 15 kilometers away, the 2 men in the tree line watched the burning train light the horizon, then packed their gear in the dark. They had counted a train, timed it, and said a few words into a radio, and that had been enough to kill it. Not one shot between the 2 of them. They slipped back into the rear before the first recovery crew reached the wreck, and the tree line they left behind held nothing but flattened grass. The corridor did not lose because its defenses were weak. It lost because the 7 drones that mattered were never thrown at its strongest wall. They built a box, bait to pull the guns one way, warheads to drop the bridge and freeze the train in the open behind it, a reserve to kill the thing once it could no longer run. One Beaver costs a little over $100,000. The Casta that watched it, the Tor that fought it, the Pantsir that could not stop it are each worth tens of millions. And not one of them had to be destroyed. The drones only had to outnumber the channels aimed at them and cost less than the train they killed. None of it was luck. All of it was counted. Somewhere along that same rear, another bridge is still standing and another train is still running. safe only because nothing has reached them yet. The box gets built before anyone inside it knows they are in one.